let's talk some more Indiana. How legit are the Hoosiers, Spencer, in your mind, after what they did against Illinois, plus the schedule they still have remaining? How legit is Indiana to make it back to the college football playoff at this point in the season?
That feels like the floor. I mean, not being hyperbolic here. That feels like bare minimum good outcome for Indiana this season is you get into the playoff. And look, maybe one day we'll look back and go, oh, Illinois was 6-6. Boy, they regressed. They weren't actually that good. Even if they do that, which I don't think they're going to do, by the way. I think worst case for Illinois is 7 wins, but I think they're still probably an 8-9 win team this year. And let's say they go back to 7 wins, beating a team 63-10. That doesn't happen a lot in conference play.
Yeah.
It simply does not. Can you imagine if, let me pick one example, the Alabama Crimson Tide blew out a 7-5 Oklahoma team this year? Can you imagine? Oh, they're back. They're so unbelievably bad.
Look at DeBoer is Saban 2.0, baby.
He's got it. Yeah. He's got it. Just needed a little time.
Is the man.
Look at how badly they beat that team. I actually don't even remember if they score off this year. I'm just making a point. This is a really impressive performance by Indiana, and they have other games this year that, as Indiana fans well know, are going to, be even more challenging than this. You talk about on the road against Oregon in a couple of weeks. We'll get together and talk about that when the time is right. You talk about for no reason in particular, because I'm a college football fan, obviously. That's right. You talk about that game. They've got Penn State on the schedule as well.
In Happy Valley.
Yeah, in Happy Valley. Like that, those are a couple of really tough games, but coming into this year, you and I both felt, those are probably going to be losses. Now you look at them and go, kind of feels like they could get one of them. Let's see how Oregon and Penn State look against each other this weekend before we make a determination about how tough those games will truly be for Indiana based on in-season results. But, man, it's hard to not be impressed by what Indiana did. And 10-2 in the Big Ten or SEC gets you into the playoff, right? 10-2 feels like the floor for Indiana going forward. I can't see how they would do anything worse than lose to Oregon and Penn State and beat everybody else. I really can't. If they play like that week in and week out or anywhere close to it, the worst they will be is 10-2.
Outside the obvious of Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon, give me a team in the Big Ten. I know it's early. There's a lot of games to be played. Give me a team, not name those 3, and of course not Indiana either. A team that people need to have their eyes on in the Big Ten as a dark horse for the college football playoff.
Yeah, I'm going to go with USC. They play Illinois on the road this week. Could knock the Illini out of the top 25. According to our friends at FanDuel, they're 6.5-point favorites in that spot, and I might have more on that game later in this week on the show, but I think that for USC right now, they are playing really good ball on the offensive side, which oddly enough, with a Lincoln Riley coach team, was the question. Because last year the offense was not where it has been under previous years when he's the coordinator, and that's what he does as the head coach, of course. But the defense last year took a huge step forward with Danton Lynn, and he's there again. He's got some returners, and Kamari Ramsey is a darn good football player on that side of the ball, one of several guys, and they have played really good football. Now, this is their first real test this week. They played fine on the road against Purdue a little while ago, and they played well enough against Michigan State, but they are playing well. I won't say they're making the sort of statement like what Indiana did against Illinois on Saturday. But if you look at what USC has done, I'd say, they're playing some good football. I think Michigan State is a pretty good team. I don't think they're great, but I think Michigan State's a bowl team this year. And
You're
USC,
going to get Matt Sheehan all fired up now.
I know, but
all fired up.
I think they're a bowl team this year, and USC was comfortably better than them throughout the course of the game, and the Spartans backdoored their way into a cover there. So on an 18.5 or 17.5 point spread, I think. So I think for USC, the question is, does Jaden Mayava sustain this going forward? He's off to a blistering pace.
Yeah.
I don't think he's played a real defense this week. I think Illinois, in spite of what we just saw against Indiana, will be the best defensive test that he's had to go up against so far this year. And I think that's going to be a really fun matchup to watch. But USC, I would have had Nebraska if they'd knocked off Michigan, but they weren't able to get that done. So I won't put them quite in that conversation. And by the way, I'm not going to put Michigan in that conversation either. I think both of those teams are good. by the way. Michigan's better. They outplayed them on the road last week pretty considerably. But I think that Michigan is good. I just think they are a year away. And Bryce Underwood is exciting. I'm glad they started him. I called for that all offseason. I do think that there were always going to be some growing pains, and there still are. I don't think he's as lethal of a passer on third down as J.J. McCarthy was a couple of years ago when Michigan won the Big Ten. So I think he still, needs to progress as a passer, and they frankly need to be better on the perimeter. They just don't have a high-level weapon out there. You took away Colston Loveland, and yeah, their tight ends are fine, but man, on the perimeter, they just don't have anybody to really make it a consistent threat for another team. And so when you don't have that component, I think Michigan just gets a lot less dangerous, because if you go up against a team like Ohio State or Oregon or Penn State that can match you toe-to-toe in the trenches and limit your running game, suddenly your offense is putting the onus on the defense, because they're going to be capped at 17 to 20 points. Well, you better be able to hold a bunch of NFL talent all over the Big Ten to 24 points or fewer if you want to hang around in that game. So I think Michigan's still a year away. I think Nebraska might be still a year away. Keep an eye on Washington. Just keep an eye. They play Ohio State this week, and
that's a nasty spread. I'm telling you.
It is. It's Ohio State minus 8.5. It is at Husky Stadium. They're looking for a signature win under Jed Fish. I'd be very careful if I were Ohio State going into that game thinking that we're just going to roll out here. And teams that have gone to the West Coast in the regular season have not had a great track record so far in this now year 2 of the Big Ten. And so I'd be watching for that. Damon Williams is a real player at quarterback. Fast, twitchy, really accurate as a passer. He is incredibly dangerous, but the question for Washington is, will the rest of the team be up to that level? Because Damon Williams' ceiling is a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten this year. I'm not talking the future. I'm saying this year.
Okay.
But can the rest of the team be on Ohio State's level? We'll see this weekend, but that's another team that if you say, well, who do you keep an eye on around the Big Ten? I'd go to those two right there, USC and Washington, and I think Michigan, Nebraska just missing out.
Well, there's a lot of big games this weekend and several more the following weeks as well. We're going to learn a ton about those teams, the teams at the top, and, of course, the Indiana Hoosiers as well. Thanks so much for being here. He is Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. Check him out again wherever you get your podcast. Same way you find Locked On Hoosiers, you can find his show. And same way you find his show, you can find Locked On Hoosiers. All right. And, hey, just by the way, Spencer, Fernando Mendoza is the Heisman betting favorite according to FanDuel.
All right. The hat is officially coming off for the day.
Oh,
we'll see if I pick Indiana in a big game later this year.